In the heart of Houston, a city of diversity and resilience, a story unfolds, a story of unsung heroes, visionaries, and trailblazers, a story of Latinos rising in the digital age. From doctors saving lives in our hospitals to the artists painting the future and the entrepreneurs building legacies, these voices are leading the way, breaking boundaries and redefining what it means to be Latino in America. Our culture, our stories, our people, each one with a journey that touches the heart and inspires the soul. From the pages of history to the screens of today, Viva Magazine Live continues its legacy of uplifting the Latino community and telling the stories that need to be heard. Viva Magazine Live isn't just a show, it's a movement, a celebration of Latino excellence, and a call to action for the next generation to fulfill their hopes and dreams and become an active part of the Latino voice. Join us as we tell the stories that inspire, unite, and elevate. Together we can ensure these voices are heard loud and clear. We invite you to be part of something bigger. Support Viva Magazine Live and make history with us. Support the vision and invest in our community. Hola, Houston. Welcome to Viva Magazine Live. I'm your host, Blanco, and this is the place where we celebrate the movers, the shakers, and the trailblazers of the vibrant Latino community. Today, we're honored to speak to Artie Blanco, the Vice Chair of the Democratic National Committee. She's a passionate labor organizer, community advocate, and a driving force in the Democrat politics. Artie has spent her career fighting for working families, equity, and representation across the nation. Artie flew in from Washington, D.C. this morning and is in Houston to do a speaking engagement for the Texas Democratic Women. So stay tuned. We're going to hear from this inspiring young woman as we take a short break to hear from one of our local sponsors, the Gonzalez Law Group, your legal team for life. So don't go away. Welcome back to Viva Magazine Live, and we will be speaking to the Vice Chair of the Democratic National Committee. It is a true joy to introduce to you Artie Blanco, better known to everyone and affectionately as Artie Blanco. She is someone that I'm proud to call my stepdaughter. From the moment Artie came into my life, Artie brought with her a fierce sense of purpose. And you know what? I think you got that from your dad. Alfredo Blanco. And she's got a kind heart, and she's passionate about justice, and that truly sets her apart from everybody. So welcome, Artie.
Hello.
Yes.
How are you? I'm so impressed. I love it.
I am so glad you're here. And you know, I just want you to know that you have grown into a powerful advocate, and you continue to uplift the community, and your commitment to service has just been fabulous. I mean, your leadership, your authenticity continues to inspire not just me, but everybody around you. So watching your journey has been one of the greatest moments of my life, and of course your dad's life. So I'm so glad you're here, Artie. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's just get right into it. You know, first I got to tell the audience that you are a product of the East End. And all of the East Enders here in Houston are very proud of you. I want you to know that, okay? So just share with us a little bit about your background. And I know that you're a Milby graduate. Tell me what year you graduated and what was all of that like for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I will say I'm a product of H-Town, inside the loop H-Town, which also includes the East End. But I will say there was a time in my young life that I lived, 2 streets from here, from this house that we're sitting in. And where I really grew as a young person, but then the East End really developed me into my adulthood. And I think that was so important. Yes, I'm a proud Buffalo, graduating from Milby High School in 1992. And I think being a product of the East End and of the Northside with my grandparents who had a bakery here on the Northside. I really am a product of Houston Tejanos.
Yes.
Because that's,
and Latinas.
those are the
Yes,
Latinas, right? But Tejanos, whatever, at the end of the day, because it was where the Hispanic community lived.
Right.
You either lived in the North Side or you even lived in the East Side. And I had the beautiful benefit of growing up in both. But really into adulthood on the East Side, I think I don't even know. I just loved it. Yes.
Well, I got to say a little bit about your dad, my husband, Alfredo Blanco. He had a distinguished career in Bowen Tools, which became National Oil Well. And he was a board member and Teamsters chief steward of Local 968 for so many years. And he also had been a precinct chair, or is a precinct chair still, of Precinct 72. And he is the vacancy chair of the 29th Congressional District in the East End for several years. So how has his professional journey influenced your path?
Well, I think not everyone knows about this story. I mean, obviously you're aware, but one of the incidences that happened in our lives that happened to my father but affected us really sort of has driven and affected what I do professionally. When we decided to move to the East End, within that first year, my father had an accident on the job.
Yes.
And he lost his right hand. And I was in the 8th grade. My brother was in the 5th grade. He put us in private school at St. Christopher's.
Yes.
For our first year living with him. And generally in any family that suffers from that kind of the only breadwinner of the household. But he could not fail us because his union contract didn't fail him.
Yes.
And if it weren't for that union contract that guaranteed that all of his health and medical bills would be paid for, that he would be able to have a lawsuit or a sum of dollars because he couldn't reach the machine to turn it off when it pulled him in, because at that point they start putting one person on each machine. And to get a small settlement to start and buy a home,
rebuild his life.
a home, rebuild the life. But then also, most importantly, also is the guarantee for another job. The contract stipulated that he had to be retrained and find another job if there was work that he could still do. And that's what still sustained us as a family, as a single father, building this house from scratch. I mean, I will just say that was a tremendous, I think now in the work that I do, realizing not everyone benefits from a union contract. Not everyone has the power or the wherewithal to be in a union. Maybe their companies don't support unions, but our rights to collectively bargain for working people, it's important.
No, it's very important.
We have to have protection.
Yes, absolutely. So tell me some of your most memorable experiences or lessons that you've learned from your father that have shaped your approach to leadership and your public service. I mean, because you told us a fabulous story just now, and I mean, a lot of people sometimes cannot sustain that type of accident and continue their lives and rebuild it. How did that affect you?
I think where it really affected how the resilience that my father had. I think it was the resilience that no matter what, he had 2 kids living under his roof, and that he knew he started to get involved and engaged in our schools, in how we were doing. And I think that no matter what, I just will always remember, even when it was summer break and vacations, we still had to be up early. We still had to go do something in the backyard. We still had to go do something around the house.
He cracked the whip.
He definitely was like, you're not just going to lay around all day, long.
You got to work.
Do anything. And I think that work ethic of like needing to move forward, needing to think about the next day, the next month, the next year of your life. I just still will always remember how my dad's like, you're going to be 16. What are you going to do for the rest of your life? I'm like, I'm just now 16, but I get it. And I think it was always sort of like, what's that next step? What's that next level? So
that made a really big impact.
I
can tell.
Made an impact.
Definitely. So let's get into your public service and your leadership and the vision that you have. So you have been deeply involved in grassroots organizing and labor advocacy, And I know that has shaped your leadership style with the DNC.
Yes. So I think what I want to really touch on is also what my dad did. When we helped Gene Green get elected in 1992, after I had graduated from high school, my dad was like, they're hiring a part-time person. I couldn't go to the college that I wanted to go to because nobody talked to me about, scholarships and FAFSA and all that. But what I really learned is I was like, Dad, they're not going to hire a Mexican girl from the hood to work for a congressman. Yeah. And my dad was like, I don't care. Go in there and interview for this job.
Right.
And I got this part-time job.
Yes.
And I think that part of the work and then realizing the political life that led to, because I realized there's information and we all have power, but information is what helps us use and wield that power. So that was the starting point for my career. Did not realize I was going to do politics or engagement in public work, and I did because of him.
All right. That's awesome. And look where you are now. That is awesome. Okay, we're going to take a short break and hear from our local sponsors, and we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back to Viva Magazine Live, and we're here with Artie Blanco. She is the vice chair of the National Democratic Committee. Artie, we were talking about what shaped your leadership within the DNC that made you decide to run as a vice chair for the Democratic National Committee.
Yeah, I will say after a long career of
you
politics,
did have a long career.
I did have a long career. I'm not as young as I'd like to be. But anyway, I will say I think after working for the congressman, working in D.C., working in Austin legislature, going back to DC, I had a small stint with the DNC as a staffer. I'd actually worked at the D-TRIP, which is the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, in 2004 cycle. And then from 2005 to 2008, I worked at the Democratic National Committee as a Southwest political director under Chairman Governor Howard Dean.
Yes.
And during that time, we created a 50-state strategy. And during that space, it really was about getting back to organizing and realizing that the Democratic Party, what do we stand for? What do we care for? We all know, but we don't really do a good job, I think, of really talking to every single voter.
Right.
And so when I did that role, it really opened my eyes to the West. I got to do some work in Colorado, New Mexico, and of course Nevada, where I ended up. So after the DNC,
and I love that.
Exactly. After the DNC, after the 2008 election, when I was actually in Colorado, I took a break. I needed a break. I needed a time off. And Senator Reid gave me a call. His team called me. He was running for re-election in 2010. And I had developed relationships in Las Vegas, in Nevada, and they pulled me out. I went out there in 2009, and I ran a Back to Basics Latino Pure program. It wasn't just about voting. It was about a sense of community. It was about what do we need to do as a community to show our civic engagement and what is our civic power and responsibility.
Right.
And so it was literally 2009, September 7th, 2009. I drove from Grapevine to Las Vegas, and the next day I started an all-paid canvas. I heard young Latinos, young Latinas that thought that their future would only entail working in a hotel or on the strip, and really giving them a sense of community. We knocked on every single Latino door.
Wow.
One of the ways that I wanted to...
That is a hard job.
It is a hard job because at the time, Las Vegas was still coming out of a recession.
Yes.
And part of it was, what are the needs of the community?
Right.
And the U.S. Senator and his team, they wanted to know exactly what's going on. They wanted to know how they can really help and be there with the community. It's not just about elections.
Right.
It's about the policy.
Yes, and it's about people.
It is about people. And so knocking on all these doors, I learned, I took data. I knew that multiple families were living together. It was a housing crisis. We were still in recession. How many homes were mixed status homes in the Latino community, and how we could help them. Give them, where I talked about information is what helps you wield your power. Give them the information, arming them with that information so that they can make make better decisions on what their civic responsibilities are. So after 2010, I just knew, okay, well, this is great. I love this program. It got me back to basics, voter registration, issue education, but also learning what the Latino community really cared and needed.
Yes.
And how we can serve them. So after that, in 2012, the AFL-CIO came calling.
Yeah.
And then I started working at the AFL-CIO. So I think after now being with the AFL-CIO, I just celebrated 13 years with the AFL-CIO. I'm now the National Campaigns Director in Washington, D.C.
Yes. And that is a big job. I mean, I can't even imagine how you keep up with all of it.
And that's why I wonder, I'm like, yes, and I decided to run for vice chair of the DNC. I represented Nevada on the DNC, on the Rules and Bylaws Committee. Nevada is one of the early states.
Yeah.
The Latino community should and will continue to have a voice in selecting who our Democratic presidential nominee is going to be.
I was just going to go into that now that you are the vice chair of the DNC. And what are your top priorities going into the 24-25 election cycle? Because Democrats have been angry at the Democratic Party. So they've been off focus, they say. So what is it that you're going to focus on to get us back into the swing of things and get to what the people really want?
Well, there were three things that I talked about when running for vice chair. One, we needed to get back to basics.
Yes.
And what my answer to that getting back to basics was year-round programming, year-round organizing. Two, taking the tools that we have and how are we using them to engage and talk about the Democratic Party and why we personally are Democrats. And then three, I made a commitment that I would be teleworking from the DNC offices and engaging in their organizing program.
Yes.
So representing the part of the labor community, part of the Latino community, and actually as an organizer myself who actually worked at the DNC, working with the team at the DNC, execute program. What have I already been doing in the last 3 months, almost 3 months now, is I just spent weekends in Virginia. So what 2025 elections are so important? Virginia elections are important. New Jersey elections are important. In fact, last night I was at another fundraising dinner in Arlington County Democratic Club so that I can help them raise money because they need to talk to their voters.
Yes. That's what I wanted to say, because what you're saying, that's the DNC's biggest opportunity to connect with voters right now, and especially in communities that feel overlooked. So you're doing what is needed with the Back to Basics program. So I commend you for that, because that, I believe, is what's really been needing in the Democratic Party. I think they've overlooked a lot of Latinos that really want to get out there and vote. They just need to be paid some attention, I think.
Well, I think it's more than paying attention. I will say this as someone, I think we need to realize that there's a lot of working people who work for a living, that are your everyday working people. They're not thinking about politics on a daily, weekly basis like us, right? We're the anomaly here. But at the end of the day, our goal is to talk to them about what are their concerns and what are their issues. Not to, we talk about education in a way about informing people, but really we need to know what they're suffering from.
Exactly.
We need to know what they need.
Yes.
We don't need to talk about issues we want them to talk about or care about. We need to find out what they do care about.
Right.
And what does the Democratic elected officials do to help in those issues.
That is so important.
And that's why when you say left behind communities, even working people will say that they're left behind. Union members say that they've been left behind by the Democratic Party. We need to change that script. We got to stop letting people define who we are. We need to define ourselves.
We need to change the narrative on that. So right there, we're going to take a break. We want to hear more from Artie Blanco, but got to cut to a commercial break to hear from our generous sponsors. Back here at Viva Magazine Live, filming at La Mansión in the north side of Houston, Texas. And I also want to give special thanks to Cesar and Veronica Cázares, the owners of La Mansión. This is a beautiful, beautiful venue for everything, I would say. Thank you, Cesar and Veronica. So we're back speaking to Artie Blanco, who is the vice chair of the National Democratic Committee, and she's in from Washington, D.C., doing a speaking engagement for the Texas Democratic Women tomorrow. So Artie, a couple of more questions that I'd like to ask before we end our show. What message do you want the voters, especially those that are feeling disconnected and disillusioned, what do you want them to hear from the Democratic Party right now?
Well, I'm not sure if I have a message for all the voters yet right now, because I would say it's our activists that we need to actually be communicating with. Mm-hmm. Right now, those that know why we are Democrats, and they have a reason why they are Democrats, we need to make sure that we're talking to voters that don't know what the Democratic Party stands for.
Yes.
Why would we wait to hear a message from someone or an organization that is based out of Washington, D.C.?
Yes.
When the issues and every issue that people vote on are local issues.
So
They're
do you
personal
think,
and
I
local
got to
issues.
stop you right there.
Yeah.
So you think that the message should come from the state Democratic Party?
I think it should be coming more local.
Or
It's not, and here's the thing, it's not one message.
Yeah.
We're not a one message party. We are a party of working people. We care about people and all working people. That's what we need to keep in mind.
But we need to have a message that resonates with everyone in the Democratic Party.
But a slogan is not a message. A slogan is not a message.
Mm-hmm.
A message is based on what people have in their needs, in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so a message is, I actually care about you.
Yes.
I'm not going to shut down the government and your family's going to suffer because you're not going to have worker safety on the job.
Right.
Not shutting down OSHA offices, not shutting down NIOSH.
Well, that's the message that's being brought out
That
there by
is that's what we need to be talking about.
That's right. I agree
That's
with you.
what we need to be talking about. That is, this is one example of people that are affected by these things. The fact that the privatization is what this administration is trying to do. Veterans that cannot get care because they are also firing people, federal workers that work at the VA hospitals, making it even harder.
Yes.
When the whole goal is to privatize. The message for us as a party is we have to get back to knowing who our neighbors are.
That's right. I agree with you 100%. And we need to get that message out as soon as we can, not 2 years from now, but starting today. Because my next question is, as you look for 2025 and beyond, what's your vision for the future of the Democratic Party? I mean, we all need something. So tell me.
Well, I think we talked about this. The chairman has come in with a vision as year-round organizing. Putting the party back into our hands about what we are talking about, getting to know who our voters are, not just saying, this is the issue I want you to care about, so I'm only going to talk to you about this.
Right.
The message and the strategy from where the chair's vision is, my vision is, in a shared vision, is that we need to bring people back to understand what we care about. And also, like, what do they, I'm saying it over and over again.
Yes.
The message is talking to voters about what they care about.
That's right.
Not what we want them to care about. And being authentic in our conversations.
That is exactly what the people want to hear. Getting back to basics. Getting back to the people. Yep. Thank you so much, Artie, for being here. It's so funny saying Artie Blanco.
If I could just say one more thing.
Yes, absolutely. Sure.
I know I talked about one of my first jobs here on the Northside was at Poor Leonard's Rasperia, right across the street from Moody Park when I was very young. It was a very hot summer.
Is he still around?
I don't know. I don't
Poor
think
Leonard's.
so. I've seen Poor Leonard's for those of you from some old Northside folks. But I'll also say it's so amazing to see how you have Viva magazine live now, because I actually also remember when you first started dating my father.
Yes,
31
years ago.
Viva magazine.
Yes.
And helping you for like a few months at the Post building.
That's right.
When it was at the Post. And I will never forget that experience. It was my first sort of print publishing, so it's amazing to see what you and my father have been able to pull back together. Viva magazine
Thank
live.
you very much.
Keep watching.
Yes, keep watching. Artie, thank you for being here and your time and insights with us today. I mean, you work at the intersection of labor, community, and national leadership is so inspiring, and we're looking looking forward to seeing the impact and your efforts in the years ahead. So, you know, you have a safe trip back to Washington. I know you'll probably be leaving back there on Tuesday. We'll miss you, obviously. We always do. And so that's a wrap for Viva Magazine Live, and I hope you enjoyed this insightful episode. Y hasta luego, Houston.